The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff with DTool Software. I'll be the one introducing you and be your host today for today's webinar. As we have a few people joining in, just one thing to note, you have your GoToWebinar menu on the right-hand side. You can click the red arrow button to collapse that, and of course, click it to bring it back out as well. And since it is a webinar, we do have all the microphones muted just to keep that on background noise. However, feel free to ask questions. There is a questions menu over on the right-hand side. So we'll keep an eye on those, and we'll certainly have a dedicated time at the end to do any Q&A. So welcome, and let's go ahead and get started. So for anyone that's just joining in, we're going to go ahead and start with a product and service overview. So give you the quick 30,000 foot view or high level view of what the system is all about. So we'll start there, spend about 5 to 10 minutes. And then next we'll jump into the demonstration. So from there, we'll go and take you through a tour of the system, show you how projects are built, managed throughout the process there. And then last, at the end, we'll talk about next steps. If you like what you see and want to learn more, we'll talk about what that may look like from here. So just a quick introduction. So anyone that's not familiar with DTools, just a little bit about us as a company. We've been around now for just over 23 years, and we only work in the low voltage market. So we work with primarily AV and security integrators, but also networking, mechanical and controls as well. And we are partnered with several industry organizations, way more than we could put on a single slide there, but just kind of pointed out a few of the highlights there. And over this 23 years, we've worked with over 7,000 companies. So we've had an opportunity to certainly learn the business, refine the system, and really make the system designed and custom built for what you do every single day. There's a lot of things that we're doing to help integrators with their process. I would say these are the four most common issues or challenges that we're seeing. There's certainly a lot more. But usually, it comes down to, proposals for estimating taking quite a bit of time, especially nowadays. It seems like it's impossible to get the right price on something with all the prices changing. So we'll tell you how we can help solve some of those problems there. And of course, another big thing is just having a disconnected process. Having tools in place is great to handle different parts of the process, but for most people, those tools are not talking to each other. And so it ultimately means you're having to do the project 2 or 3 times over, which, is time consuming, but also is prone to errors and miscommunication. So we'll show you how we can help really kind of tie everything in together with our platform. So to kind of jump into the overview, there's really 5 key areas that we'll talk about today. One's going to be the front end part of the process, which is going to be the sales and estimation side of things. So we can take an initial lead or opportunity and then create an estimate proposal for them. Drawings is another big part of what we do. And we'll talk about how our system works. And so it's not just a drawing tool, it's an integrated drawing tool. So that means, you've got data linked to your drawings, you've got bill of materials and other documents linked to your drawings. There's a lot of powerful functionality that comes with that. Of course, project planning and installation. So once the project's been approved, we'll talk about how that project is planned out and how the project is executed and also, tracked from an installation standpoint. Then, of course, service, another important topic these days. Not only, tracking service requests, but also, estimating and tracking service agreements or service plans, any kind of recurring charges. We can certainly help with that. And of course, last but not least is the whole back office side of things. We can take this project, we can, take it, create POs for it. We can give you some really good business insights and business intelligence as well. So we'll touch on some of the options we have there on that side. Before we get into like some of the details, I always just like to point out that we do have a product library, and this is definitely the largest low voltage database out there, period. We've got well over 2,500 brands or product lines represented. And within that database of over 1 million parts, we also have dealer specific pricing options set up for certain key brands. We've got around 160 vendors participating in the price feeds, and that's continuing to get larger. And we also track some other things too, not just, the sales stuff, but also technical details like dimensions, power heat ratings, inputs and outputs. We even track industry standard installation times as well, and those can be used and downloaded as a part of our library. So a lot of good stuff that really kind of ties in every aspect of the process. We'll touch on that today as we go through it. So from a kind of the starting point, you take your leader opportunity and set that up inside the system. Once those items, once you're ready to build a quote or an estimate, we can take all those items we talked about from the library, and those can be added to a project inside the system. So one of the ways that we do labor, you can estimate labor based on a part basis. So every item has a time associated to it, and that'll just add up as you're building out your project here. You can also just add your labor manually. So you can just say, okay, I want to have 10 hours of programming time or 20 hours of engineering time. You can add that in manually if you want to, or you can do a combination of the two. Some other things though that's good to note about the estimating side of things is we can also link up what are called accessories to parts. So when you drag and drop an item in, we can remind you, hey, don't forget this part, don't forget that part. And that is helpful because it does save you time. You're not having to go look up items every single time you're putting that part in. And I would say probably the biggest thing that we're seeing lately, especially right now with the current environment, of not being able to always get things on time, with the the reminders that come along the way, you're not only charging for those items like you should, initially, but we're also ordering those items on time. I can't tell you how many times that's probably it saved several of our clients, and of course I've heard from other people that aren't using a system like this, and so yeah, before if I missed a part, I could just pay overnight or 2-day shipping and get it here, but nowadays I have to go in and I may not be able to get it for 4 or 6 weeks, so that can be a bigger problem than just that can delay a project. You could lose a client over that, so that's really a big deal these days. And so that's one of the little features that makes a big impact within the system. Now, the other things that we can do too, we can also present upgrade or downgrade options. So you can show the customer some ways that they could, upgrade the solution or even save a little bit of money. So we can show those options throughout on the same document. We can also estimate your service agreements or what we call service plans. So any kind of recurring monthly, quarterly, or annual charges, all of that can be tracked. And of course, we have an online portal too. So all of our documents can be sent out, reviewed online. The customer can e-sign those documents. And we can also notify you too. So when they look at the document, you can get a real-time notification that, hey, so-and-so customer has looked at your proposal. So all tools that are really helpful, for putting together a nice looking estimate or proposal. And, I'll show you some examples today, but just keep in mind that, some of the documents are in there. Those are just standard documents. We do have a built-in report designer tool, so we can really make the proposals or documents look any way you want to. And that's something that we're usually doing and helping out with on the onboarding process. Now, from a drawing standpoint, we have the ability to build out drawings, and we do work with 2 platforms, AutoCAD and Visio. So you choose your platform of choice, and you can start dragging and dropping right from that list or equipment list that you've built inside the system. But one other powerful option you have is you can actually start with the drawing first. So I could start off with a blank project, nothing in it, and I could bring in a floor plan and start dragging and dropping items where I want them to go. And as I'm doing that, as the items are hitting the drawing page, they're actually getting added to our bill of materials or our project. So your equipment adds up, your labor adds up, taxes or VAT gets added up. So it's all happening there in the background. So you do have really kind of 2 ways of going about it: list first, then drawing, or drawing, and that creates your equipment list and pricing. So Obviously, big time saver there, especially if you're doing both in the pre-sales process or some form of drawings. It's also a huge benefit too from a revision and change order process side of things. So once that project gets approved, changes and things start getting updated. What's nice about this, you literally only have to change it in one place. You just go into the list, swap out the part or delete the part or add a new part. It changes everywhere. So all the drawings are going to be updated. All your reports are going to be updated real time. So it is nice to know that you don't have to go and change. A single change doesn't mean I have to change it in 5 or 6 different places. You just do it once and you're done. So a lot of efficiency and a lot of time saved just in that aspect alone. So we'll touch on some of this and show you how the drawing tools work. We also have project planning and installation. So once that project's been approved, we can schedule it out. We do create project plans and create Gantt charts for you. And from that, we can take those and dispatch those out as tasks. So for, any technicians or engineers out on site doing the install, we can dispatch it out. And through a mobile tool that we have called Mobile Install, they can actually track their time. They can mark the items they've installed or completed. They could even put in product details like serial numbers, IPs, or MAC addresses on the devices. They can also make field changes too. So, if you go outside, there's some additional parts or labor we had to use that can be documented, which once again initiates the change order. And photos, electronic signatures, the ability to view drawings or upload documents, everything's there at their fingertips. So anybody that's out there doing the installation can send back updates and we can track and see how we're actually doing on this project. We can see our actual versus estimated in labor and in materials as well as hours. So everything's being tracked as we go. And there's a lot of other benefits too. I mean, not only do we have some, nice detailed drawings that go with it, but also things like wire labels. The system automatically creates all your wire numbers, and we create labels that can be pushed off to most labeling machines. So a lot of really good tools to help with the installation and execution of this project. The next step is really your service side of things. So we can take this project and then as things need to be updated, whether it's a routine maintenance visit or if it's a break fix scenario, we can track and set up service orders inside the system. So we can track those, keep that with the history of the client, and we can also track those underneath those service plans that we talked about earlier. And with those service plans, we can also have it where when the term comes up for renewal, we can let let the client know that there's a renewal that's coming up. So we can stay on top of those and make sure that they stay current on the contracts. So really, this all ties everything together here into one ecosystem. And then really the last thing to kind of touch on is kind of the back office part of things. So creating purchase orders, getting those out to the vendors, receiving items. We also have the ability to integrate with other platforms. We've done well over 20 integrations so far, and we can also do additional integrations as needed using our API. So quite a bit of options to be able to push or pull data to other systems. We also have dashboards and graphics that's all built into the system. So you can actually create your own graphics and dashboards in the program, and those can be set up on your home screen. So each person, depending on their role, can see the data and the information that they want to when they open up the system every single day. So lots of options here for the back end part of the process. So big things that we don't do, I would say right now is accounting. So this wouldn't replace an accounting tool that you already have. You would simply take that and then we can take anything you do in here and we can push it right into there for billing and invoicing. So all of this said, there's a lot of features which we'll talk about in more detail today, but at the end of the day, it's really all about the return on investment. So with any system, it's not worth a single dollar if it doesn't return 2 or 3-fold back to you. So that's where there's a lot of ways that our system can help. I would say that most of our clients see a return on investment within 3 to 4 months after getting the system set up. And it becomes an invaluable tool that you really can't live without, or it's hard to go back at least to the old way of doing things once you do it this way. So let's go ahead and let's jump in. Let's show you what the software looks like and give you some more details on what we've covered today. So what we're looking at now, this is the home screen to the system. So when you open it up, we talked about those dashboards. You can have different things, from a sales perspective, from an operations perspective, like change orders, service orders, things like that can all be tracked and managed in here. Now, one of the things that we talked about earlier on in the meeting here is we talked about the library. So let me go out and let's show you what that looks like. Show you how that actually works. And sorry, it went on my other screen. Let's go bring it over here. So this is the dTools library. You've got on the left-hand side a list of all your manufacturers. There's thousands of them. We also have the ability to do price feeds. So you go up here to connect and you can do direct vendor price feeds. Now, these price feeds right now are only for the US market. We will be opening that up to Canada here shortly. And then also we have plans to open that up into UK as well. So those are kind of our three biggest markets in that order. So yeah, we've got those coming here shortly. But what's nice about this, you can set this up and get direct price feeds from your vendors or distributors that you're working with. And we add about 5 or 6 new vendors to this price feeds a month right now. And just go in, you click on the manufacturer, you put in your account details, and this is actually linking up to your pricing with the vendor. So they verify it, they're the ones sending the pricing. So it just makes things much easier. So especially nowadays with all the price changes, certainly takes some headache off of your plate for sure. Now, within this library, if you don't see a brand or product line that you need, you can always create your own items. You can also make a data request, and we have a little voting system as well too for that. But yeah, keep in mind, you can still create your own items. You can copy items if you need to. But this should be a huge head start because you've got a lot of resources here. And, the updates are happening every single day. You can see last week, we published and added over 13,000 parts, and the week before that, almost 13,000 again. So quite a bit of stuff here happening on a regular basis. Now, once those items get downloaded, those are going to go into your catalog. And your catalog is going to consist of products, labor items, and packages. So we'll touch a bit more on those and kind of what's in the products and what kind of stuff we track once we get into a project. So let's go over here to projects and let me show you what that looks like. So this is the Project Explorer. This is where you can go in and see any projects that you're currently working on. So when the project is selected, you're going to have a place here where you can see tabs at the bottom. So I can see any files related to this project that's being worked on right now. There's also the ability to see your revisions, track any change orders, track any tasks, service agreements or service plans, and also POs. So everything's right here. You don't have to leave really the screen. You can really access pretty much anything you need to for that client or project right from here. So to kind of show you how a project gets set up, let's just spend a few minutes kind of take you through what that looks like here. So let's go up here to the top. Now, once you set up a project, this opens up a window where you can go and put in the details of the project. Now, at this stage, you may not know everything that you need, so you can always skip things that you don't need, and you can always come back to it if you need to. So we'll, of course, need to put a client name in. Just do that. We can put a name here. We'll call this November webinar. And then we can also set a status. So the statuses are things that you can customize. You can pick what you want it to be available here in the dropdown. And what's really nice about this is those settings here, you can have it where there's also workflow rules or notifications that happen. So as the project kind of moves from one stage to the next, we can keep people notified. So especially helpful, once the project's been approved by the client, we can alert the team that does purchasing, we can alert the team who does the project management and scheduling, so we can start sorting things out for the project. So it can really help, with communications with that. You can assign roles here as well, and you don't have to. You can leave it blank, but this does make it a little easier here. And you can do other things like an estimated close date. If you want to use our system for pipeline tracking and forecasting, we can do that. So let's go ahead and slide over here. We've got our additional contacts. So this could also be other trades, electricians, general contractors, architects. You can add them in here if you want. Then you've also got your site and billing address. And then we also have the ability to do a live tax lookup. So based on the address and billing code, we can pull the correct tax rate. Of course, you can also have tax rates just set in here by default that you can choose from a dropdown. So I'm going to let my system calculate here for us. We've also got project resources. I usually skip this step. That's just where you can add other people to the project. We can always do that later. Scope of work, if you want to do a scope, you can start one here. Of course, you can always add one in later if you want to. And show this how this works, you can also use what are called snippets. So these are basically prefabricated templates here that you can utilize. You can go to the list, check the items here that you want, drop it in, and then you can always go back and edit and update it as you need to. So it gives you a little place to start off there. You can also add locations. And with this part, you can get pretty detailed. We'll keep it pretty simple today, though, but you can go through and you can add buildings, floors, rooms, and racks and keep track of, how everything's laid out. Let's just go through a couple options in here to play around with. Check off a few rooms there, drop them in. And then what I'll do next is we've got our payment terms or payment schedule, so we can get that set the way that we want. And then if there's any custom fields we want to put in, things like, this is a great place for like Wi-Fi passwords or building codes. You get 55 fields here that you can customize and format the way that you want to. So it could be drop-down options, could be yes/no options, could just be text or date fields. So it is quite flexible for any kind of additional notes you want to keep tabs on. So let's go ahead and hit save on that. Now, what we're ready to do at this stage is we're ready to start putting equipment into our project that we've set up. Now, to do this, you can do it one of two ways. We talked about creating a list and then doing a drawing. So there's no right or wrong way. They're all tied together. It's just really a personal preference. I'll start with a list first, though. Just kind of start by putting a few items there, but then we'll move over to the drawing side, and I'll show you how that works after that. So you can see how we can take it and put a drawing together from it. Now, to build this out, on the left, you're going to have your databases. So we've got the product database here on the left. You also have a labor database and also a package database. So package being pre-built systems or assemblies. So let's go in and let's go start adding some items. Now, as far as the settings go, if there's anything that you forgot to do, everything can be changed later on. So let's say I've got this mechanical room, but I want to maybe specify the racks that are going in there. I can go into the rack or the mechanical room, and actually what I want to do is go back over here to mechanical room, and let's go add a sub location, and let's go throw a rack 1 and 2 in there. Okay, so we've now set those up, and those are now in there. So as we drag and drop items in, we can lay it out and put it where we want it to go. So let's go ahead and do this here, and we'll go ahead and drag and drop this item into our project. Let's go put that into rack 1 there. Now, as we do that, there's a thing called accessories. This prompts you for any additional items that you may want to consider. So in this case, I've got some programming time. I also have a vent panel for the rack. So those items can both be added in. If there's something I don't need, I can always uncheck it or change the quantities. So that adds the 3 items here to my project. So now I'll go in to get my next item. Now, in this case, I had put in part of a model number, but you can also just type in and say, I'm looking for a speaker, and that'll show me all my speakers. I could type in a brand name. That'll narrow it down even further. And then once I find what I'm looking for, I can drag that into the location or multiple locations at once. So if I want to drop that into, let's just say, let's do 5 different locations here. With all 5 selections there, I can now drag and drop this in, and I can also change that quantity if I want to. So this one has accessories too. So we've got a ceiling back box. We also have a cable. So this runner cable is going to get dropped in with every speaker. So we can do that. And since we're dropping in a run of cable, you can actually go in here and adjust your wire length. And don't worry, for anyone that's outside the US, if you're tracking things in meters, that's a setting that'll happen by default when you install it. So you can adjust it based on feet or meters. And you can also make an adjustment here on your head end if you want to. So this will keep track of how much cable that you'll need for the project. It's also going to be estimating the cable based on the distances that we're putting in there. So the equipment and labor part of that, once again, is all calculating in the background as we go. Now, the other part of this is the package explorer. And so you can also have pre-built systems or assemblies. This could be something as simple as a plate. It could be a complete conference room setup or package. So you can have a package name, description, and all the parts and pieces that make it up. Once that's set up, that's now saved, and now you can reuse that on any project that you want to moving forward. So now that we've got some equipment in here, we'll show you how you can make some changes. Now I do see a warning right off the bat here. I can see that this is telling me I have a 0 or a negative margin or markup. So the system can warn you as things get put in here. So if I want to change that margin there to, let's say, 20%, we can do that. That's a little better. We're in the business to make money, so let's get that. Don't want to give that away. Now we can also make adjustments here. If I want to change the price, let's say to 5,000, I can, or I can make an adjustment to the margin or markup. So it really doesn't matter where you change it. It works a lot like a spreadsheet in a way, where you can just click on a cell, make an adjustment, and that updates here on the project. Now you can also do some quick adjustments. I can set the pricing based off of a flat margin or markup. I can apply a discount across all the items. I could even make an adjustment to my cost in there too for certain vendors all at one time. So a lot of really good utilities and tools that you can work with there for that. So now that you've got the items in the project, we can see up top what our total price is and our labor time. So this will just update real time as we continue to build out this project. And so at this stage, we can take what we've done and we can generate a document to hand off to the customer to give them pricing. We can also start with a drawing, or move to a drawing next, I should say, and then we can build it from there. So before we get into the actual proposal or quote, let's go over to the drawing side. Let me show you a few things you can do there on that. And once we get all of our items added, then we can pull together a nice document to hand off to the customer. So let's go ahead and hit save here. I'm going to close this out. So what we're going to do now is let's go start a drawing, and you can do a Visio or AutoCAD drawing. It's really just a preference here. I'm going to stick with Visio just because it's a little, I think that's the most common, I would say, but you can still use it with AutoCAD. So let's go ahead and launch this up here. So we'll open it up. Now, if you are using Visio or AutoCAD, this is going to be the same native drawing platform that you're used to using. It's just now enhanced. So we've made it smart by linking data and reports to it. So we've got our drawing page here. Let's go up to the top and let's go turn off that grid here. So this will bring in all the customer details as well as, our client name, project name, all that information is there. So to do a drawing, you can start by doing one of 4 drawings. And I'll start with just the line diagram. We'll work our way down the list here. But a line diagram is going to be taking the items and just showing a very high level, simple one-line drawing. So if I come over here to my project editor, let's say I want to grab this speaker. Maybe I want to show the cable and show this Crestron part. I can drag those items onto the drawing. That brings out the images of the items, and I can just do a very quick, simple one-line drawing, making those connections. So not much to it. And if I want to, hide the model numbers, or if I want to show the room name on there, I can also do that very easily. So that's our line diagram. Now let's say the opposite end of the spectrum is going to be what we call our schematic drawing, which is going to have these same items, but it's going to have the inputs and outputs visible. So I would go to my schematic view to do that kind of drawing, and I can once again just drag what we already have from that other drawing on here. And it knows that these items are connected since we connected them up earlier, but it doesn't know which input or output it needs to go to. So we're just going to grab either end of the cable here, make our connections where we want, and this starts to put together a very nice clean schematic or wiring diagram. Now, when you do these kinds of drawings, there's a lot of things that get automated. As you'll see, every device is getting its own unique number, including the wire. You can have all of these wire cables color-coded to your preferences. And what's also nice, you can even edit this information over here. If I don't want to see, the signals, and I don't want to see the terminals, I can remove those. If I want to show just the IOs I'm using, I can remove everything else but the ones we're connected to. So like I said, a lot of enhancements, just things over the years that we've heard from people, hey, I'd like it to do this. And we built it out and enhanced it here in the system. So that's your schematic drawing. That's one of your one of the 4 types. You've got your elevation view, which is where you typically do like a front or side view, and this is good for a rack or something on a wall. Now we haven't put a rack in here yet, so let me show you how you can add stuff to a drawing and to your quote or bill of materials. Over here to the left. Now, if I want to add the racks, all I have to do, I'm going to go ahead and select where they're going to go. We'll say rack 1 and 2. Come over here to our database. Once again, just do a quick search up here at the top. It's the fastest way. You find the item that you're looking for and you just drag and drop it in. So by doing that, that's now brought out the racks. Now, by adding them to my drawing, they've also been added here to my project editor. And one thing to note is as I'm adding items into the drawing, it is putting a blue dot here on the list. So I can keep track of what's on the drawing and what's not. So this restaurant part, no dot, we'll drag and drop it over, drop it in there, and I can now place this where I want it to go. If I go back to my parts list here, I'm going to see that now has the dot. So the other thing too, this does prevent you from making mistakes. I cannot add 2 of those to the drawing on accident. So if I come over here and grab that part, try to drag it out again, it's going to say, hey, you can't do that. So you can't have more on the drawing than you're charging for, which is a good thing. So you can do that, but you can still have more on the drawing than you're charging for if there's owner furnished equipment. So there is some things you can do where you can set the items as provided by the client. So there are some exceptions to that, but yeah, for the most part, yeah, you're not going to have an issue of missing or forgetting something when you build this out. So that's there. We also have the plan view. So the plan view is going to be your floor plan layout. So to do this, you can drop in an AutoCAD file. You can drop in a PDF file. We have our own PDF conversion tool for Visio, which actually will take it and scale it and allows you to turn stuff on and off, which is really handy. But yeah, it doesn't matter which option you go with. You can come in here and go grab let's go grab an AutoCAD file, drop it in, set our scaling, and we'll drop it in there. So now just zoom in and once again, start dragging from the existing list if you have it. If not, you can always add new stuff here. So we'll go over here to this and let's go grab the speaker cable, drop it in there. Okay, so we've added it. Now I went ahead and brought out the amplifier just because we had it connected previously on the other drawing pages. So it will do that if you wanted to. You can always remove it if you don't want to show it on that page. But even if you do remove it, it does tell you it's going back to rack 1 on that side. We have our wire number once again and our unique ID for the device. Now, my speaker I've got set as red. It's kind of a color fill just so it stands out. So you can color code these if you want to. You can also adjust the symbols or shapes that come out. And if you have your own, you can also link those to our database. So you don't have to use our stuff, but of course we certainly provide you something with the library for that. And you can do wire distance measurements. You can draw a wire path. It'll tell you how many feet or meters that should be, and you can apply that to your cables. So it is a good way of documenting the system, but also engineering and estimating all at the same time. So quite powerful to be able to do both simultaneously. And if I get in here and want to change a part, I can just change it, right click and change it. I can also, select this speaker and just do copy and paste, and that'll add another one here to the drawing and also add another one to our project. So, all blended or tied together there as a part of this process. So that's a little bit on the drawing side. Just want to give you a brief introduction there on that piece. So let's go ahead and take what we've done here and let's go ahead and close this out. So let's say we're around ready to hand, some documentation over to the customer to get their approval. So let's go over here to reports, and there's going to be a lot of report options. We've got under the reports tab, client reports, which are going to be basically any documents that are customer facing. So I've got my proposal with images. You can do proposal without images. And you'll notice that each of these templates here, when I expand them, I can choose to run it by category, by location, by system. There's lots of different ways of doing it here. So let's just maybe do this one here. And so this will generate a document. This is one of our standard templates that come out of the box. So you'll have a cover sheet here. You can always edit the image on the front. That's something you can easily change, do a custom picture for that particular client, or it could be a, whatever generic image you want. Then you've got your breakdown. This one's a room by room breakdown, so we can see everything that's going into it. Now on this, I'm not showing line item pricing, so that is turned off. So you can turn that on and off as you wish. The model numbers, once again, can be turned on and off. Also, the images, once again, can be turned on and off. Just depends on how much detail you want to show. And then if we get down to the bottom here, this will have our total. So equipment, labor, and then if it's taxable, I had set this one to not taxable, so it didn't do it, but there it is. Now, for anybody that does do projects outside of your country or local market, you can also, we do support multi-currency, so we can do exchange rates conversions if you need to present it in a different currency. That's always an option. Let me show you one other type here. Let's go run another report, but this one's more of a custom one that was done in here. And so using the built-in report designer tool, you can do quite a bit, as we talked about earlier. And so what I'm going to do now is pull together this report group, which is actually 6 different documents that's all going to be merged into a single document that I can hand off to the customer. And this gives us some flexibility in the way that things are presented and rearrange things as we need to. So this one has, once again, a cover sheet. We can do things like introductions. So if you want to have an introduction to the customer, we can bring in some standard text, of course, address them by their name. We'll pull that in, and of course, the sales rep can be there. And then we kind of roll down to the next step, which is going to be your project scope. So you can do your scope of work here. And once again, make edits to this if you need to. Then let's kind of move down. You've got a room or location summary. So we can break down all your different locations and the subtotals for each area. Then we've got our breakdown of our equipment here. And you can also do this by system. So system would just be like audio, video, control, networking. You can break stuff down that way if you want to and organize it. You got your summary, which breaks out, once again, all your totals here. I didn't link a drawing to this yet, but you can choose to link a drawing if you want to present that in here. And then you also have your contracts, payment terms, places to sign, which they can all do through the portal. And then you've got your service options you can present, and then of course, about us as well. So, this isn't just another example, but this is something that we can work with you and your team on getting set up so it's designed and looks and feels the way you like to present it. So that's a bit on the reporting side. So let's say, we've built all this out, we've sent it to the customer, they've looked at it, they've approved it. We can come up here, and once this project has been approved by the client, we'll go up to the approval button and mark it as approved. So that does a few things for us. This will mark it as a one project. It'll put the date on it, and it will also take a copy of that project and drawing and save it off to the side as a read-only version. So nobody can go in and edit or delete something or add something without somebody knowing. We're going to track all of our changes moving forward in here. So let's go ahead and do that and have it run here. So at this stage, if I need to make any adjustments, I can just do it from the drawing or from the list. So let me show you real quick what that looks like. I think this is definitely one of the nice features of the system, is being able to track changes, because that can certainly be a painful process for a lot of people. You can come in here and you can delete an item. So I can just say, I don't want that speaker anymore. We'll take that out, and it's going to require that I log it as a change order. So I have to put a type. So is this an external change, meaning that the customer has to approve it and that they're going to pay for it? The other option is an internal change order, which means we're going to pay for it. And so we don't necessarily have to get the customer's approval, and they don't even need to know about it. So it is important to choose the right one. And of course, you can document why. And this will show it flagged here. So I can see this is now pending to be removed. I can also add items. So if I want to come over here and add another one of these, let's go ahead and do that. And I can put that on the same change order or do a new one. And this will show me my additions here. And so all of these changes here get documented on a change order report. So we can present it to the customer, break it down, what's been added, what's been removed, and have them agree or sign off on that or reject it, whatever the case may be. So we can put that together and keep tabs and track on those. And what's also helpful is you can see this information even from the ordering and scheduling part of the system. So you can see that, hey, this item is pending to be removed, so maybe I don't want to order it, or maybe I don't want to send it out to the job site. So it's very helpful there. So let's go ahead and close what we've done here. And what I'll do is I'll go to my change order tab here, and let's go ahead and just mark that approved. So, and this will create a revision once again. So every time the bill of materials gets updated and approved, we're keeping a full history of everything that you can go back and track and look at. Now from here, there's a few things that I may do. Probably purchasing right now would probably be the first thing to do, just so we make sure we get it on time. So we can go over here to our purchase orders area. And I like to just do a bulk create. This will allow me to go in and I can order from this project, and I can actually combine multiple projects into a single PO if that's preferred. So we'll do that. So on this little small project, I've got 4 vendors that I need to order from. And then just by doing that, we've created 4 purchase orders. So pretty easy. I don't know if it can get any easier than that. So you go in, you do it, and then when you're ready to dispatch it out, you can just come in here and you can send this out to the vendor. And so once that gets published out, that vendor gets the PO. And then later on, we can come up here to our item receipts, and we can receive the items as we get them. And at that stage, you can scan in things like serial numbers, MAC addresses, and yeah, keep track of everything. And this will all keep track of your equipments too, or your equipment job costing reports too. So we're tracking everything as stuff goes in, comes out, and what we've actually paid versus what we estimated. Now, the other part of this process is getting the installation done. So I won't go through every aspect of that, but I do want to touch on just a couple things. So from an installation standpoint, there's going to be a series of tasks that get set up. For the installation, you may have tasks you set up for programming or for engineering. So anything that somebody needs to do and want to track whether it's been completed and whether the time, track the time, we can do all of that in here. So let's go ahead and show you how that works. Now, I usually start with a Gantt chart first, so we can come in here and create a quick Gantt chart, and you can do it by the installation phase or fix, depending on where you're at. You may have a different term for that, and then you also can do it by system and or location. So let's go ahead and hit next here. Then we can choose our different phases. So once again, this would be, rough end trim finish, or maybe pre-wire trim finish, and also, first, second fix, and so on. So you would choose the one that you want, hit finish, and then this now creates our high level tasks. So now we can take this, we can move these things around here on the schedule. It is a Gantt chart, so you can actually track and set requirements. So like this has to be done before this. It does automatically show you days off and holidays as well, so those get blocked off on the schedule in blue. So once I've put this up here, I can go ahead and hit convert. This will create tasks for us based on that, and we'll go ahead and close this out. So we've now set up all of our tasks here for our projects, and any of these, once again, could be dispatched out if I want to. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Let me move that over here. So we can take this, we can send this out to the field team, and they can track their progress. So we kind of jump over to that side of things, and let me show you what that part looks like from a mobile perspective. So let me go ahead and bring that up. Sorry, went to the wrong screen. Let's go log in. So let's go mobile. So this is going to be mobile install. This is going to be the tool that you use if you're a technician or service tech, or even a PM, project manager out in the field may use it. So we can see a dashboard of what we've got going on that we're working on. We have our calendar or diary here that you can check out and see the schedule. Everything gets color coded as well. You've got your individual tasks, and also you're going to have your service orders here as well. So I'm going to go into this one here that's been assigned. I can see where it's assigned, who it's assigned to. I can track my time up here just by starting and stopping a timer as I need to. Under the items tab, I can see all of the items that need to be completed, and I can go through and mark these complete, or I could just do the whole thing and mark them installed. And so this will put a date stamp on it. We can also track when it was picked, so when it was either pulled from the warehouse or taken to site, however you want to use that. And as you'll see, you can also come in here and add other product details. So serial number, IP address, MAC addresses can also be added to the devices. And anything that's added out on site will sync back to the main system from there. We can also add job site items, so any additional parts or labor that we use. We can take photos under the site images area. We can go through the list and track checklist items that need to be done. This is very handy for service as well. We have an approval tab where we can review all of the work and get a signature electronically for that. And then any of the time entries that we do here will get logged into a timesheet area. So you can put in a duration, like a start time and end, or you can just put in a, let's say a flat 5 hours. So you can kind of do it either way. So we'll add those in there. Then you got your timesheets area. I can just do a quick time entry there if I want to and document what kind of time it was that I was doing. And this can all be logged as a part of it. So this is just a little bit on the mobile side. All this information is being fed back to the main system. So as we're making updates, as things are progressing, we can track and see how it looks and how we're performing on that project. So let's go hop back over to, sorry, wrong screen. Let's go back over here to this one. So what we do now, we also have some other areas. We can also estimate and track service plans. So this is where you can create your monthly or quarterly or annual agreements and services that you charge for. So those can be built in. And then we have a service area for tracking service requests. So everything that we've talked about from a scheduling perspective, everything's available via the calendar. So you can go in, you can see your schedules on a day, week, or month view. Looks a lot like Outlook. We try to design it in a familiar interface for people. Let me go take it off of just this project, and let me not show everybody I have in here. So some views are going to be better than others for looking at information. But you can also, if you're doing a lot of people at once, the timeline view makes it a little easier because then you can just easily stack multiple schedules here into one view. So it makes it easier to work with there. So that's your scheduling area. And then I would say last but not least is really our business analytics area. This is where you can track and report on various things that are happening on projects. And not just projects, really any area of the system. Let's go back up here to business analytics. So this could be, based on project and sales pipeline information. It could be on change orders, the equipment that you're ordering or selling, installation task service. So, it can be graphs, it can be charts. Just depends on how you want to look at the data. But you can customize these, and once again, can be added to your home screen if you like. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of stuff that the system can do. The whole goal here is to really tie in as much of the process as you can into a single platform, a single system here. So I know it was a lot of information that we went through today. So if you would like to, schedule a time to go through some of this stuff in a bit more detail, or if you have some specific questions that you want to go through, we're certainly always happy to do that and have that conversation. I know we have about 5 to 10 minutes left here on the webinar, so I'm going to go ahead and open that up for questions now, just to give everybody a chance to get their questions answered if we haven't answered them already. And so it's just a reminder for anyone that may have come in a little late after we started. There is a questions area over on the right-hand side in the GoToWebinar menu. So you can expand that out, go to questions, drop your questions in there, and we will see those and can answer those here for you here in these next few minutes. This webinar also was recorded or is recording, so we will send out a copy of that if you'd like to see that. And of course, as far as next steps go, if you don't have any questions, if you would like to learn more, just let us know. We'd be happy to give you a personal tour or just have a conversation with you and and see if this would be a good fit for you or not. Getting a few questions dropping in here, so I'm going to go ahead and answer some of those. So one of them is, let's see here, price feeds. Okay, yeah, okay, never mind. All right, you see, I did answer that. See, some of these questions came up, and I answered them without even knowing it. So the other one is about pricing of the software. So the pricing of the system, it's going to depend on a few things. One's going to be the number of concurrent users that you have. It'll also depend on, if you prefer to have like a cloud-based or hosted server, or if you want to do it on premise. And then also, what aspects of the system you're using, so we can figure out what kind of training and implementation would be needed to help you get it set up. But it does range quite a bit. It's just one of those things that's easier to have a conversation with you to figure out what your specific needs are versus trying to throw out a price, because it could be a pretty broad range depending on, how many licenses you need and functionality you need. So we can reach out to you personally and kind of run through that. But I'll say that most people find it's not as expensive as they thought it was. So it is a subscription base, so you can just simply sign up on a monthly or annual basis, and then you've got some initial one-time stuff for like training and implementation. But other than that, like I said, it's not as especially for the value or return you get on it. It's certainly it's not much for that, so it's good. Let's see here. Which versions of Visio and AutoCAD do we work with? We do work with, so it's Visio 2010 and up. And then for AutoCAD, it's AutoCAD 2014 and up. Now for AutoCAD, it does need to be a full version. It can't be the LT or light version. Unfortunately, Autodesk, who makes AutoCAD, doesn't allow integrations to the light version, so we do have to use the full one. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, we do work with both. Can tie that in. Absolutely. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like I covered all of the questions I've seen so far. So we'll do one last call for questions, see if anyone has any remaining questions before we wrap up for today. If not, hopefully this introduction webinar was helpful for you and give you some better insights into what the dTools platform can do, and maybe see if maybe there's something that some challenges we can solve for you based on what we've covered today. So yeah, I don't see any more questions. So we'll go ahead and wrap up a little early. And yeah, just we'll reach out to everybody that attended. And of course, don't hesitate to contact us as well. We'll be happy to talk with you. All right, have a good rest of your day, good rest of your week, and take care out there. Thanks.